He fixed your laptop in 10 minutes and took it from you. So you made his Audi look like it was dying by unplugging 2 parts underneath it, then repaired it after he signed it over to you. Stick around, because today's stories will leave you absolutely speechless. Story 1. I lost my laptop. So I fixed his Audi. From under the hood. It all started about a year before I even had the idea to get revenge. I was in my late teens, living on my own, and honestly, money was tight in a way that made every little purchase feel like a gamble. I had this old laptop that was basically my lifeline. Then one day it started acting up. Not broken in a cool, fixable way. Broken in a good luck way. I'm pretty decent with computers, but I had zero clue how to actually repair hardware. So I did what you do when you're stressed and broke. I searched online, tried a few things, nothing worked, and I ended up asking my stepdad to take a look. He glanced at it for a minute, gave me this look like I was wasting his time, and told me it was screwed. But then he offered me a deal that should have sounded generous. He'd take it off my hands. I was broke, too. If it was truly dead, I figured at least it wouldn't feel like I was clinging to a useless brick. So I said sure. If it's broken, it's no good to me. Then I walked back into the room 10 minutes later and I see him using my laptop. I asked, "So? You fixed it?" He goes, "Yeah. Thanks for the laptop." Look, I was furious. My mom didn't want to get involved. She basically said it wasn't worth the fight. And my stepdad's argument was even worse. He acted like it was my fault because he just did a quick internet search, like that somehow made it okay for him to take one of the only things I owned. I couldn't believe it. He already had his own setup. A laptop. A PC. He didn't need mine. He just wanted it. So a few months later, I'm visiting my mom and stepdad again, and I get this thought that's petty but crystal clear. If he wanted to treat my stuff like it was disposable, I was going to show him what it felt like. I'm not a computer wizard. But I am pretty good with cars, especially certain German ones. And my stepdad had this 2001 Audi A3. Before he even noticed I was doing anything, I went out to the car. I got under it and unplugged 2 things. One was the oil level sensor. The other was a vacuum line connected to the turbo. That's it. 2 quick disconnects. Later that day, he starts the car and immediately the dash lights up with oil warnings. The engine wouldn't boost. He shuts it off, goes pale, and starts looking like he's watching his bank account die in real time. I come out and ask what's wrong. He tells me it's something major, like catastrophic turbo trouble, maybe even engine failure. He'd already paid for repairs and didn't want to pour more money into it. Then he says the thing that made my brain light up. He talks to my mom about scrapping it, cutting his losses, and moving on. So I ask what it's worth at the scrapyard. He tells me, about £100. And I hit him with the most polite, reasonable sounding offer I could manage. I say I'll take it for £120, so he can at least get something extra and not deal with it. He agrees. He signs over the logbook, writes out a receipt for the purchase, and hands me the keys. That was the moment I realized I had him. Because he wasn't just mad at the car. He was mad at the situation. And he'd already decided it was over. I walk outside, lift the hood like I'm inspecting things, and I pretend to mess with my phone for a minute. Then I go right back under the car, plug the oil sensor back in, reconnect the vacuum line, start it up, and drive it around the block. When I pull back, I give him a thumbs up like I'm the hero of the day and say, "All good. It's fixed." His mouth is hanging open. He's furious, like he's been robbed twice. And I hit him with the line he used on me. I told him, "You could have found the solution with a quick internet search too." He tried to argue it wasn't fair, that if the car works then I can't just take it. But he had already signed it over. The logbook was in my name. The receipt was in his hands. He didn't get to rewrite reality after the fact. My mom didn't back him up either. She basically laughed and said it was his own fault. And here's the best part. I still have the car to this day. It's in great shape and runs smooth. Like, practically showroom condition. So yeah. I'm not pretending I'm a saint. It was a douche move. But after what he did with my laptop, I'll be honest, it felt like the perfect kind of justice. The kind where somebody learns a lesson the hard way. Story 2, he kept taking my bike spot, so I locked him in his own mistake. It all started about a year ago, when I moved to Japan. And yeah, people here love bicycles. Like, a lot. The catch is you can't just toss your bike anywhere. You have to park it in a paid spot, usually $1 or $2 a day, and most of the free areas are basically unicorn sightings. So what everyone does is this: they pay monthly, and they claim the same numbered space over and over. You get your own spot, and you just keep using it. Simple. My spot was number 105. I'd been using it regularly, every day, no drama. Then, a couple weeks ago, a guy in my building started bringing a guest. At first I didn't think much of it, but then I noticed something. Every time his visitor came over, my space would be occupied. Not by some random bike. By the same red, expensive bicycle. And sometimes the guest would leave it overnight. Which meant I'd show up, see my spot taken, and I'd have to deal with the whole annoying routine: go to the station, pay another day's fee, drag my heavy bag and my bike situation back home on foot, and then do it all again the next day. It's exhausting, and it messes with your schedule. So the second time it happened, I finally said something to the building manager. And nothing happened. No warning. No enforcement. No "hey, knock it off." So the third time, I saw that red bike sitting in my spot again. I was done being patient. I wrote a note in Japanese, kept it respectful in tone but clear in message. I basically said, "This is my reserved space. I use it every day. Please stop leaving your bicycle here." I taped the note onto the bike, using the same tape I'd used to secure mine. Then I come back later and find my note ripped off, and a new one taped to my space. That's when I realized this wasn't just accidental. The new note was full of nasty insults, like he wanted me to know he was embarrassing me. Honestly, if he had just taken the space and moved on, I probably would have let it go. But the disrespect flipped a switch in my brain. So yeah, I decided I was going to handle it. I went to the bicycle shop and bought the thickest, toughest lock they had. The kind of lock you buy when you're done asking nicely. Then the next time I saw his red bike parked in my spot, I didn't just lock it to anything. I locked it in a way that made it impossible for him to just grab and go. That bike hasn't moved in 7 days. And here's the part that made me feel like I was finally breathing again. 2 notes showed up. The first one was pure anger. More insults. More threats. He basically tried to act like I was the villain and that he'd report me to the police. Look, I'm not interested in drama with the cops. But I also wasn't interested in being bullied out of my own reserved space. Then, a few days later, another note appeared. This one was completely different. It was an apology. He begged me to unlock the bike. He said they tried to break it, but they couldn't. And you could tell he was stressed, because the tone was not "I'm right." It was "please, I need this solved." So I guess he got the message. I'm pretty sure he won't try that again. But I'm not gonna lie, I still want a little extra time to enjoy the win. I'm planning to release the bike in a couple more days, and when I do, I'll be done with it. Because the truth is, I didn't start this to be cruel. I started it because my spot was being taken repeatedly. I complained to management, and he responded by insulting me like it was a game. Actions have consequences. And apparently, he finally learned that in the most expensive way possible. Story 3, they canceled the job mid-interview. Then demanded I pay for the trip. It all started about a year into the late 90s .com chaos, when I was getting a reputation for my expertise in a networking tech that was considered cutting edge back then. I wasn't some random applicant either. I was getting recruited hard, like real "we need you yesterday" energy. One day, a major telecom company in Denver reaches out and basically tells me they want me to lead the technical side of a huge networking project. After a few phone rounds, they invite me out for the real interview. The in-person one. The 2-day sit-down with the bigwigs, the engineers, and HR. The kind of meeting where you feel like you're already halfway to the new job. So I fly in. First day goes great. I'm talking architecture, strategy, the whole thing. I even noticed this subtle tension between 2 groups inside the company, like they're not totally aligned on how the network should be built. But honestly, that's not a deal breaker. It's common. They just want someone senior who can settle the argument and get the project moving. That night, they wine and dine me. I'm feeling good. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I can see myself in Denver. Day 2, more interviews. Then the division head takes me out to lunch like it's some final formality. And that's when the rug gets yanked. While we're eating, senior leadership cancels the entire project and fires everyone tied to it. Every single person. Like, gone. No transition plan. No, we'll keep you in mind. Just lights out because the internal power struggle went the wrong way. We walk back from lunch and the manager does not even pretend everything is normal. He pulls me aside, tells me the project is dead, he's out of a job too, and then he escorts me straight to HR. HR sits me down like we're about to finalize my offer. Except the offer never existed. They tell me it's over, and then they basically tell me to leave. No heartfelt apology, no we'll make it right, no explanation beyond bad timing. Just shitty luck. I go back to the hotel, furious, trying to process how a company can invite you all the way out here and then wipe the whole thing off the map during your lunch. Then my phone starts blowing up. There's a voicemail from HR. They want me to call back. I do, because I'm trying to figure out what the hell is happening. They tell me my return flight has been cancelled. And not in a don't worry, we'll handle it way. In a you'll need to pay for your hotel yourself for now way. They say I can submit an expense report and maybe they'll send me a check. Then the hotel calls. They want a credit card for the stay. And then I get a call from the rental car company. I miss it. When I call back, they confirm they also needed my credit card. So now I'm standing there thinking, wait. I just got rejected mid-interview, and now I'm being treated like I'm the one who owes money for their mess? I call the airline. They confirm my reservation was cancelled, but they also tell me something that makes my blood boil even more. The ticket was purchased with a fully refundable fare. I'm holding the physical ticket in my hand, and back then that basically meant it was as good as cash. So I'm looking at thousands of dollars in airfare, a hotel tab, and a rental car bill, after I took time off work to chase their opportunity. Yeah. I didn't think so either. Here's the part that turned into my revenge. I packed up. I loaded the rental car. I left the keys in the hotel room door like, good luck. Then I drove the rental car all the way back home, about 800 miles, and I even stayed overnight in Amarillo to break up the trip. When I got to Dallas, I dropped the rental at the Hertz lot near DFW. But I didn't just leave. I made the trip count. I took their shuttle back to the terminal where my original rental car was, retrieved my things, and drove home. Over the next few months, HR and accounting started calling me. Nasty calls. Demands. They wanted me to pay back the trip expenses, including a drop-off fee they claimed I owed. I didn't answer. I let everything go to voicemail. Eventually, a legal demand letter showed up. So I paid a lawyer a modest amount to send them a response letter basically saying, try me. And then something funny happened. I never heard from them again. The best part is, the airline ticket was still valid. I ended up selling it to a friend at a discount, and he used it successfully. So yeah, they tried to turn my misfortune into my bill. I just made sure their plan fell apart in the most practical way possible. Story 4, they chopped our 200-year-old Sequoia and tried to blame a storm. It cost them $700,000. Alright, I've waited about 2 years to post this, because I honestly didn't think I'd ever get to tell it without my blood pressure rising again. This one is wild, so buckle up. So here's the setup. We live in this old, big manor that's been split into 3 attached houses. The place is around 150 years old, and when it was built, the builders planted 5 giant sequoias in the grounds. Back then, they were already huge, like a couple hundred years old. And in the UK, giant sequoias are basically rare as hell. We had 2 of them in our garden, and everybody knew it. Even real estate people would tell you those trees add serious value. Like, tens of thousands of pounds worth. Next door, we had 2 really decent neighbors. One young couple and one older couple. They were the kind of people you wave at without it feeling awkward. We even shared animals with them, like chickens, ducks, the whole neighborly routine. Then the older neighbors passed away. Their kid moved in with her family. Let's call her Jo. And look, I'm not saying she was evil from day one, but she was absolutely a pain in the ass. She agreed to keep sharing the chickens with us, but every night she'd forget to close the coop. So we'd still have to check. Every night. Like clockwork. And then one night, her kids decided it would be hilarious to open our duck pen in the middle of the dark. You can probably guess what happened next. The ducks didn't get scared and run back. It turned into a massacre. So we're already annoyed, right? Then about 2 years before the main thing, a storm hits. And somehow, one of Joe's sequoias falls over and dies. Now, I get it. That's heartbreaking. But the second it happened, the jealousy kicked in. She started complaining nonstop. About how lucky we were to still have 2 sequoias. About how our tree was supposedly blocking light. The shade thing was nonsense, by the way. We could tell she was just looking for reasons to be mad. And then the threats started. They'll chop it down, or maybe the next storm will finish it, stuff like that. We tried to ignore it, because what else can you do when someone keeps acting like your property is their problem? Then we go on holiday. We come back from France, and that's when everything changes. We step outside and my stomach drops. There's a huge stump. 6 meters across, like someone took a chainsaw to history. And the tree is gone. Not trimmed. Not damaged. Gone. And it wasn't just our sequoia. 2 of our older oak trees had been crushed too. So we're standing there in disbelief, like, how do you remove a tree that big in 2 weeks? And how do you do it without leaving a trail? We're not in a movie. We're in a real neighborhood with cameras and gates and fields. My mom and sisters were crying. My dad was furious, face red, speechless. Jo shows up with excuses. She claims there was another storm and she had to get rid of it. But here's the thing. We had a security camera at the front of the property. And yes, you can sneak into the back if you go through fields, but still, the story didn't add up. Then we get hit with the financial reality. We're given an £8,000 bill for damages to her property, plus the cost of chopping and removing the wood. And honestly, even if you ignore everything else, that wood alone was worth a fortune. So we're not only dealing with the loss of a priceless tree, we're also being treated like we caused the mess. At this point, we were ready to give up. 2 weeks go by. Then my dad comes running in from the garden. We had set up a wildlife camera a few months earlier, mostly for animals. Hedgehogs, birds, whatever. But we also got something way more valuable. We had footage. Of the whole thing. Now we called a lawyer immediately. Like, no waiting. Then we brought in a proper tree surgeon. That's when we learned the full brutal truth. Our sequoia wasn't just some random big tree. It was an original specimen brought into the UK in 1860, the same type as the sequoias at Elveston Castle Park. There were only a couple hundred of these trees around the country back then. Now there are far fewer. And the surgeon didn't just say it's rare, he said we needed to call an engineer too, because the roots might be tangled into the foundation. If they rotted, it could damage the house. Spoiler, that's exactly what happened. So we weren't only suing over the tree. We sued over property damage, trespassing, and all the smaller claims piled on top. Jo and her lawyer were basically forced to deal with reality when we showed the footage. And the numbers? They were disgusting. To replace the tree with another 200-year-old sequoia, it would cost about £250,000. Because getting one like that, planting it, and keeping it alive in the UK is basically impossible. Then the foundation damage was around £200,000. The 2 crushed oak trees were another £25,000. Add in the other costs and claims, and it came out to roughly £500,000, which is about $700,000. And yeah, that's why they had to move out. The best part is what happened after. We paid off the mortgage. We did a loft conversion and a kitchen upgrade. We renovated the house and the garden. And we planted a new sequoia in the back garden, a 60-year-old one that was already established. We even used the old sequoia wood for a kitchen counter and a dining table. And the neighbors' situation? It got better. We've got a new family next door who are actually great. We share chickens, ducks, and even pygmy goats now. I also babysit their kids, and yeah, it's become a pretty solid side income. So, to be clear, I feel bad for the people who lived there before Jo. We still visit their graves, because they were genuinely like family. But Jo? She tried to turn our history into a storm problem, and the footage made sure she paid for it. Honestly, the whole thing is a reminder, if you're going to commit a crime against someone's property, don't assume the universe is going to keep your secret. Sometimes it's just a wildlife camera and a lawyer waiting to ruin your day. Story 5, I quit mid-shift and shut their pizza down. It all started when I was 15, working at this insanely popular pizza place in Canada. The kind of place where the line is always moving, the ovens are always hot, and the owners act like they're the kings of the universe. The whole operation was run by 2 college kids who thought they were running some high-end empire. I wasn't trying to end up in fast food, but my first choice fell through. I wanted to work at the local arena, but there was a catch. I had to be 16 because of the chemicals they used for pool stuff. That meant waiting months, and I needed money sooner. So I applied to the pizza place. They hired me for the kitchen, And within a month they decided I needed to learn dough. And look, I get it. Dough is the heart of pizza. But the way they wanted it was brutal. They told me I'd have to come in every weekend at 6 a.m. just to have dough ready for noon. I told them straight up I'm a kid. I like my weekends. I don't want to be up at 6 a.m. every single weekend. They promised me it would be only one dough shift a month. Cool. I agreed. Then they put me with a partner. We'll call him Scott. Same deal, Scott agreed to learn, too. We both got trained and we were good at it fast. Like, shockingly good. And for about 2 weeks, things were great. Then the schedule flipped. Suddenly I was working every Saturday. Scott was working every Sunday. No more one weekend a month. Just full on, back-to-back weekend grinding. So I did the responsible thing. I went to my boss and told her, "Hey, you said it would only be once a month." She laughed. Not like oops, we'll fix it. More like isn't this funny? Like the whole staff was a joke to her. And the worst part? The servers were all in their 20s. They treated us like we were disposable kids. They knew we needed jobs and wouldn't walk out. That's when the arena called. One Saturday, I went home and my parents told me the arena reached out again. They wanted me in for another interview, and honestly, I was ready to jump ship. I went in, and they told me I'd probably get the job in 2 weeks, the day after my birthday. I asked if they needed anyone else. Then I told them about Scott, how he was working there too. The manager's like, "Yeah, send in his resume. We'll get him set up." Alright. Time for petty revenge. Next Saturday, I walked into work and did absolutely nothing. I didn't argue. I didn't cause a scene. I just sat there in the back, apron on, name tag on, twirling my thumbs like a bored villain. I drank chocolate milk. I hung out in the restaurant like I was on vacation. When the crew showed up for opening, I was still just there. They asked what I was doing. I looked at my boss, smiled, and said, "I quit." She didn't even look shocked. She laughed and told me they were probably going to fire me anyway. So I hit her with the simplest truth in the world. I said, "Nah. I showed up. You still need to pay me for my shift. I didn't make dough, because you wouldn't stop screwing me over." And you could see it hit her. Like, real panic. Because the dough was the whole point. If there's no dough ready, the store can't run. Later that day, she had to close the shop. Not because we were short-staffed in some vague way. Because there was no dough made. The pizza place shut down for the day. And the icing on the cake? Scott did the exact same thing the very next day. We ended up working at the arena together for the rest of high school, and honestly, we still tell that story like it's a legend. Because that place thought they could squeeze 2 kids for free labor and laugh it off. Turns out, if you mess with the dough, you mess with the whole operation. That's all for today. Which story was your favorite? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video for more insane stories from DT Audio.